I'm CJ, and I'm a PIM guy. I've been part of hundreds of PIM implementations, and one question keeps coming up over and over, and that is, can I connect our ERP system to the PIM, or can I import data from our ERP system to the PIM, or we like this PIM system that you're showing us, and can we take the data we're going to maintain in the PIM and push it back into our ERP system? So I figured I'd take a moment and put a quick video to answer all these questions, to go over the strengths of each system, and talk through the logistics of how such an integration will look like if it makes sense to you. Let's take a step back and try to put these two systems side by side and evaluate their strengths. What is each system built to do? Why do these systems exist? Then let's proceed with why to integrate these systems and the scenarios when it doesn't make sense. Let's go through why not to integrate. Step 3, let's walk through the logistics of what such an integration entails. What are the options available and how to go about these options, and what option makes sense in what scenario. Step 4, let's go through, instead of ERP data being pushed to PIM, let's go through when it makes sense to push the data back from the PIM to the ERP system. And finally, let's put it all together and let's see what that workflow looks like and what that whole system looks like. The number one objective of an ERP system is to focus internally and be an internal system for most organizations. The purpose of an ERP system, which is, by the way, also referred to as an inventory management system, is to look within the organization and to say, in the organization, let's get all our data together, centralize the data, and ensure there is a good workflow across all the teams and all the individual contributors in the company. So an ERP system primarily handles operational data. It also handles human resources, finances. There's a whole bunch of different modules in an ERP system. But within the context of this conversation, it's mainly operational information. For example, this includes item information like the SKU and a few other attributes that go with the SKU. It includes inventory information, as in what are the warehouses that are involved and where the products are stored. It may have some warranty information, repair information, etc. Number 3, ERP systems also have financial data. This includes pricing information along these SKUs and these products that have been sold. Also includes accounts receivable and accounts payable. And finally, creating statements and balances, etc., etc. Number 4, it also includes a lot of customer-related data. This includes information around invoices, payment terms, and also includes shipping and billing addresses and payment information. So this, from a high level, this is the function of an ERP system, is to have all this information and connect with different departments. So the operations team, the finance team, and the sales customer service team, and in general, the purchasing operations, all of those activities are within the organization are maintained in an ERP system. PIM, on the other hand, the primary function of a PIM is to syndicate the data out and to share the information with outside the organization. It is the customer-facing content. So all information maintained in the PIM, directly or indirectly somehow, is facing the customer. This includes syndication, as in syndication to e-commerce, syndication to distributors, to retailers, Also includes sharing this information with the sales team and the customer success team and marketing team for creating PDFs and spec sheets and sell sheets. Also includes agencies or any third parties that rely on this product data. The third thing a PIM does is it pulls together data stewards. These are individuals or teams within the company who maintain the data. So if this is our PIM system, the data stewards are responsible for maintaining the information, such as someone in product management may be in charge of maintaining the specifications of the product. And someone in marketing may be adding the bullets, features, benefits. So the different teams like product managers, marketing teams, these are the different teams that often maintain the data in a PIM, along with also with some logistics team as well as operations team, because they have information on product dimensions, OSHA information, regulatory data, safety information, warranty information. All that information is maintained by these different teams. So a PIM facilitates this data maintenance. Number 4, a PIM offers top-notch data quality tools. This includes controlling who is maintaining the data. So it has controls around data, as in the access levels, who has write access, who has read access to what type of information, and properly putting this data in choice lists or the proper data domains, so we know the lengths of product titles, the images, etc. And last but not the least, it helps in the PIM is built to capture digital assets that go along with the data. So from a high level, as a PIM is built to maintain and share the content that's customer facing in nature. It's built to facilitate syndication across multiple channels. It's built to help data stewards capture data. The right user captures the right information with a set of controls that are built into it. A PIM is built to improve data quality by adding the right data domains so data is captured in the right format, the right lengths, with the right validation rules. And finally, a PIM helps in connecting all the digital assets together with the product data so it can be syndicated out or it can be shared online. By the way, this also includes websites. You can't forget websites. And the difference between websites and e-commerce is websites may be just information only, and they're kind of like like a showroom to showcase the products that are being sold or being offered by the organization. And e-commerce sometimes overlaps with it, which is more for B2B or B2C purchasing and placing orders. So far, what we covered is the primary purpose of each system and how these systems have different capabilities and they're built for completely different purposes. Next, let's take a quick look at the scenarios where an integration makes sense. Why should these systems be pulled together? When to pull these systems together? And when it doesn't make sense to pull these systems together. So let's start with why. The number one reason for an integration between an ERP and a PIM is to increase speed to market. Let's take an example. Let's say item 101 is an approved item, but it's not in stock. So let's say that it is in draft status. But let's say you received stock today and the warehouse is ready to ship this item, and now it went from draft to active. If an integration is in place, then this change of status of the item can be directly communicated through an integration to the PIM. So in the PIM, 101 is now active across all channels, such as your distribution channels, your retailers, and your e-com and website. This automation of going faster to market and not having to depend on manual steps and to turn around this product from the to basically go live with this item faster can be achieved with integration. So in other words, number one reason is communicating across the entire content ecosystem for this item, going from draft to active across all channels can be achieved with integration. The second reason for an integration is reducing errors. If these systems were not integrated or connected, the change of status of 101 from being a draft item to active has to be done manually across and communicated across each channel. So we have to go from D to A to distributor 1, distributor 2, retailer 1, store 1 if you're running Shopify or BigCommerce, store 2, etc. So this entire process can have holes in it if it's all done manually. So a better approach would be to connect these two systems and let the PIM handle all the syndication. So this data that's once pushed from ERP to PIM is fully automated, and all downstream systems and folks and people and e-commerce platforms are aware that this item is discontinued. Not only is it faster, but you'll also have fewer errors because someone may forget doing this entirely or miscommunicate an item easily. You could have a different part number. Maybe there's a confusion down the road. So it's not as accurate as a system handling this. So that's the second reason, is to reduce errors. The third reason is for streamlining workflow. This relates to speed to market, but in a lot of scenarios, from ERP, the PIM receives the status change from draft to active. Then the PIM can trigger a series of events, like it can send a notification to marketing to check if all images are attached. And marketing can branch this workflow into creative for approval, and then go to copywriting to get all the descriptions approved. And after that, check with logistics to make sure that all the safety and regulatory data is in place. And once both of these are approved, get the final check, and then deploy this data into the channels. This workflow is only possible if this automation is only possible if this integration is in place, or the integration facilitates this, so there is no lag between the ERP system saying this item is active and you can start marketing and go to market with this, and between the rest of the creative team starting to take control of the process. So that workflow can be seamless, and a lot of companies like that workflow to be in place. And finally, the last reason for integration is access to additional information. Additional info. For example, ERP systems have warehousing information. Let's say item 101 is stored in multiple locations, and you could have location 1, you have 12 items on hand. Same 101 location 2, you have 15 items. 101 location 3, you have 50 items. Because this information is in ERP, a lot of companies operate the channels without taking advantage of this. But if you have this integration in place, your store 1, store 2, store 3, all of them can carry the location and the inventory information, and they can leverage that and show customers what the shipping times are going to be. Or they can calculate the shipping fees. So companies we help can take advantage of all of these other data points that are available in the ERP system. Also, the other data point is product group code or UPC codes. With that information, with UPC codes, we could also use other tools to enrich content in a much more effective way. So content enrichment is the last thing uh, is content enrichment is a little easier when we have additional information like unit of measure, UPC codes, country of origin, material information. Why? Because with tools like AI and with tools like existing data out on the web, a lot of scenarios where this information can be put to use. But if that's all in the ERP system, then the PIM is kind of blindsided with, kind of the PIM is not at the not taking advantage of that information. With AI being such an important part of content enrichment, it's important to take advantage of all those other attributes in the ERP system, like unit of measures, material, UPC codes, so we can go out there and in some cases, enrich that content. So that's the last benefit is content enrichment can benefit from integrating the two systems. Next, let's go through the reasons why not to integrate. Not every company is set up the same way. So there are many scenarios where integration does not make any sense. The reason number one for why not to integrate is you're a new business. Let's say you're a new business and you have no ERP and you don't want to complicate things too early before you start generating revenue. Then that's a perfect reason. You can start with the PIM and you can start with your e-com platform. And that brings us to number two is many e-com platforms are built to handle a little bit of light ERP, as in they have customer data in them. They have some financial information, enough in the beginning, early days. They also have some amount of inventory management tools or apps that can be purchased in their app store to help with inventory management. And finally, they have a little bit of outreach and other marketing capabilities. So a lot of companies who are e-commerce driven, e-commerce first, D2C companies that are getting started don't need this kind of integration. So either if you're new or if you are just using an e-com platform and it has enough capability for now, then this integration makes no sense. But you may still have multiple stores, so you can even put some of this data in the PIM. Like you can manage pricing in a PIM, and you can manage inventory in a PIM by creating additional attributes on the SKU. So that in that case, since you don't have an ERP system, there is no need for it. Reason number three often is that you're in the middle of or planning to replace your ERP system, or in the process of upgrading. I'm surprised how often we run into this scenario where a company we're working with is going through an ERP implementation, or next year they are rolling out a new ERP and they don't want to put in the effort. And understandably, that makes perfect sense. So in that scenario, just get the data dumped out of the ERP, load it in to the PIM, and you're good until your new ERP takes shape. So that's the third reason. And last reason is that you're using the PIM for syndication only, and it's a syndication PIM. What it basically means is that you're not enriching any content in the PIM. There is no real enrichment. You're just using it as a method to feed multiple channels. So your channel one, which could be your distribution channel, your retail channel, your e-com channel, and website. So in this scenario, it's continuously receiving one file, and this file may be coming from another internal PIM or PLM system. And we've seen scenarios where there's multiple PIM systems, one for internally maintaining the product data with very rich workflows, and it's been there for a long time. And the company is literally looking for a way to quickly go to Shopify or e-commerce or Amazon, Walmart, or distributors like Ranger, Fastenal, Ferguson. And the goal is just to spread information and to syndicate the data. So sending data to all these different channels is what you're looking for. So in that case, connecting to an ERP doesn't make any sense. Next, let's talk about logistics. What is the best way in which we can send the data from the ERP to PIM? What are the options available, and what option makes sense? As we discussed so far, ERP systems have SKUs or items in them. The hero of this slide is our item. And the SKU that's maintained or items that are maintained in the ERP system usually have a set of attributes. Obviously, they have the SKU number or the item ID or the item number. They also have a very short description. In this description, the main purpose of this description is not to be customer facing, but it's very short because it has to print on invoices and shipping labels. It's cryptic, but it serves the function, serves the purpose, what it's meant for. Next, there is a status attribute, and this attribute is very important, and I'll cover why that's so critical. There's also a handful of other attributes like product group codes, there is UPC code, unit of measure, country of origin, etc. And all of these attributes are important, and we call them foundational attributes. And the reason we call them foundational is because we can connect to the ERP system and pull that data out. There's three ways primarily that this can be achieved. Number one, using an API. And as the name indicates, it's an interface that's run between systems, computer to computer, server to server, no human intervention, but it requires a lot of setup and programming. In a lot of cases, it requires programming, unless you're using something like NetSuite and the PIM comes out of box with that. On this other side, we have our PIM, and this is the integration between the two systems. I say it as a dotted line because it requires some work, but this is one method to connect these two systems. This is ideal when the PIM or the ERP has a connector pre-built. That's when this makes the most sense. The second scenario or the second method in which these systems can be connected is through a CSV. The way CSV works is we simply write a report on the ERP, and the report is run on a schedule. So this schedule can be a 7x7 schedule or 7 days a week, or it can be twice a day. And this CSV file is often pushed into a FTP site. And in the FTP, the file is dropped on the schedule. And this file often is a very simple file. It basically has the SKU in it, the SKU number. It has one header row, and remaining rows in this are just data rows. The SKU, the item status, short description, and a handful of all these other attributes we have listed here. And the PIM consumes this and generates a dashboard with this data. The last option is you always have manual export and import. And this manual export can either be XLS or it can be CSV. In this approach, what we're doing is we're taking the data file periodically and importing it to PIM. It looks the same, but it's manual. This process, however, is automated. And this automated process is of maximum. This is a majority of cases, this approach works. And this is the most efficient. And if you have an ERP partner, they can implement this, in 6 to 8 hours or maybe even 4 hours in some cases. Now, there are a few things to note when it comes to logistics of this file and to this CSV process. So our recommendation often is, if you feel that integration is key, then go with CSV. But here are some notes. Number one, always include the status attribute. And the reason you want to include the status is because if an item, let's say item 101, goes from active to discontinued, and you include all items in this file, all statuses in this file, then we can automatically mark this from active to discontinued in the PIM. But if you only include active items, then the PIM will never know what changed the status. So number one is include all statuses. That's the key. Include all statuses in the file. Number two, if your short descriptions have, let's say, a comma in them, make sure you double quote the file. So you call this, include short description like this. So this is also called escaping the data. So anytime you suspect that there can be a comma in the file, then make sure that the whole data is included in double quotes. Number three, this file that we are sending, try not to change the name or keep the same name. So if let's say this is called PIM export.csv, keep it PIM export.csv every day, same file name. That way the program that picks up this file can always look for the same file name in a predictable way. Number four, make sure you set the right ownership or controls on the attributes in the PIM. Ownership of attributes. What we mean by that is, in the PIM, you may say that short description status is a read-only attribute. So in the PIM, you can't change them. That way, you don't end up with conflicting information. There are many scenarios when these two systems can fall out of sync. And one reason is that you're allowing dual maintenance. So the key is to understand which system owns what attribute and ensure that we're not allowing dual